How are we doing, everybody? Are we live? What's up? How's it going? Man, it has been a long time since we've done a YouTube live. It's actually not straight. Yeah. It has been, it's been a while, guys, and that's for a variety of reasons. Let me just get this set up straight. Move like this. Okay, I think we're good. All right, how we doing, people? It is good to see you all. Yeah, as I mentioned, I don't think I've done a YouTube live in probably over a month. The main reason is that I've been moving. So as you can see, completely different background than we're used to. New kitchen. I'm in New York City, very excited. And yeah, still sort of moving in. Moving is very difficult, as I'm sure a lot of you know. But I'm pumped to be here. How are you guys? What's up, what's up? Let me move it closer so I can actually read what you guys are saying. Honey King, I'm doing good. How you doing? So as you can see, guys, we got something very cool today. We got a whole salmon. This is a very special type of salmon. But how are you guys? Where are you guys at? Watching Stranger Things. I haven't watched the new Stranger Things yet. Yeah, hope you guys are all well. Can anybody guess what type of salmon this is? Anyone have any thoughts? I actually took off the first side on Instagram Live maybe 15 minutes ago. So if you're from there, then you do have the advantage. Any thoughts here, though? This is a type of salmon. I'll give you some examples. There's like Atlantic salmon, there's coho salmon, there's sockeye, there's king salmon. There's a ton of different varieties. They're all quite different. But any guesses? Any guesses? What's up? What's up? Good to see you all. Man, it's been so long. Hey from Jersey. Cool. I'm in New York City now. So I moved from Boston to Connecticut to New York. Grapple Juice, thank you. Thank you so much. No guesses, it seems, so far. So this, ooh, there we go. Boom, the first one I saw is Sockeye. Who is that? Don't subscribe. Good call. This is a Sockeye salmon. So you can tell that it's sockeye based on that really nice, deep orange color. Like often if you see something like Atlantic salmon or anything like that, it's going to be a little bit lighter, almost white. But this is like the purest salmon color you can ever find. And that's because it's sockeye. So it's known for really bold flavor, like bold salmon flavor. It's not super, super fatty. Typically I lean towards like more marbled cuts, but this one's the flavor itself is extremely amazing. Extremely amazing. That's how you know it's good. It's also very healthy. A lot of omega-3s, all that sort of stuff. It's quite expensive in the store, so I don't typically buy it. But this is wild caught from Alaska, which is cool. A lot of the fish you get is farmed. This is literally caught on a boat. I think there might be a little delay on the comments because now I see all the comments of people guessing. But yes, it is a sockeye, and I did already take off one side, so it's a little harder, or I guess maybe easier. But all we need to do to fillet this, to get that side off, is to remove this bone right here, the vertebrae. So I'm going to do that relatively fast. Since I just moved, I don't have like all my equipment. So I don't have my fillet knife. So we're working with what we got. And the goal is to just follow. I'm basically just cutting through the ribs. That's like the main bone. I'm just following that vertebrae. It's actually harder when the other side isn't there, it seems like. But yeah, so what's up? Atlantic, yeah. So who likes salmon? I feel like it's hit or miss, but generally a fairly popular fish. It's a good starter seafood, you know? Like if you don't like seafood, you know, it's a good one to start with. So check it out, guys. Look at that. This is just the spine. You can see we got most of that meat I'll probably roast this still. Like there's still some good stuff on there. But for now, I'm gonna lay this out to the side. And we have that beautiful side of salmon. What's up, Hurley? Israel, it's 12:20. Wow. Mississippi, nice. Germany, wow, we got people from everywhere. That's super cool. Hello, hello. Am I gonna make sashimi? I'm not planning on it because this isn't really like sashimi grade. I know it's fresh. I know it's like really high quality, so I assume it'd be okay to eat as sashimi, but I wasn't planning on it. I might try it. Will I grill it? I would love to grill it, but because I'm in this new, so guys, for people just joining, I moved recently, completely new apartment. As you can see, the background is unfamiliar, but it will become the place that I film everything out of. But because I just moved, I don't have my grills, which is a bummer. So we're just gonna cook it over a pan, just pan fry it. To go with it, check out what I'm cooking. Take a look at this thing, guys. Is this not the craziest looking / ugliest looking vegetable that you've ever seen? Does anybody know what it is? Some people guessed on Instagram, but I would not have guessed it personally. Let's see. There's still meat on the skin. I think there's a little bit of a delay, so if anybody's guessing it, I'll let you guys try to guess it.
Turnip, a
Turnip?
potato,
Not quite.
garlic,
Nope.
onion,
Nope.
wasabi,
Nope. Good
bok
guesses.
choy. User Miss H said celery.
Nope. Celery. Nope. It's not.
Kimberly Kossup celery root.
Kimberly. Ding ding ding. She got it. Celery root. Never cooked with it before, but I saw it and I had to go and try it. I think it'd just be cool to see how it is.
Thank you, Gibbyson83 for the donation.
Thank you, Gibbyson. I appreciate it. Sophia, I do need to charge my phone somehow. It's at 20%. Is there a way? Okay. I like salmon if it's cooked right. Yeah, salmon's the type of thing where, I mean, really any fish is prone to drying out at some point. But especially this type of salmon, it's a bit more lean than like a farmed salmon. So you definitely don't want to overcook it, so we're going to do our best to avoid that. Hello from Illinois, nice. Arkansas, cool. Hungary. Wow. It always blows my mind that, like, where everybody's from, you know? I feel like it's so easy to just get caught up in the bubble of your own hometown or like your country. So it's really cool to see that. What I'm doing now is just removing the rib bones. So there's two sets of bones that you have to think about if you ever buy a whole salmon. And you might think, oh, I'm never going to buy a whole salmon. But the reality is salmon, if you buy a whole salmon, it's a lot cheaper.
Is it paused?
Oh, don't trust. Or
No
whatever.
trust.
Okay. Sorry guys, 1 second. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that. Shout out. Who was the one that sent the thing? Oh,
The Gibbyson83.
oh, the what?
The donation?
Yeah.
The Gibbyson83.
Oh, the Gibbyson. The Gibbyson. I don't know if I gave you a shout out, but I really appreciate it. Thank you. So wait, where were we? My phone paused, so I kind of lost you guys for a second. But we back. Man, for some reason the comments are so delayed.
So, why do you wear gloves? What are they used for?
Why do I wear gloves? Honestly, when I'm just cooking for myself, I do not wear gloves. But because I feel like I'm cooking for you guys, I want to, make it sanitary.
El Trumpo says, salmon? What part of the cow is that steak from?
That's probably the best comment. Who's that from?
El Trumpo.
El Trumpo. Great comment. Yeah, so this is actually located towards the rear of the cow, just above the sirloin. One of my favorite cuts, especially if it's dry aged. Yeah, that's great. No, we got to mix in some fish every once in a while, you know? We can't eat steaks for every single meal. Well, we can, but, and sometimes we do, but I don't think the doctors recommend it. Okay, so I'm just kind of cleaning this up a little bit, you know? What we're gonna do next, so I removed the ribs, which is good. So most of the bones are gone. And check it out, guys. We got a gorgeous piece. The color is insane. So there's the rib bones, and then there's also, whoa, so laggy on these comments. Let's see, Saudi Arabia, cool, Sweden. So there's the rib bones, and there's also the pin bones. Whoa, we got salmon flying everywhere. So these pin bones kind of run like this. Because this fish is relatively small, they're quite delicate. I don't know if you guys can see these little bones. And this is why it costs more to buy a finished fillet, because the butcher needs to do all this stuff, right? They need to take it off. They need to, take the side off the whole salmon. They need to, take the scales off. They need to remove all these bones. So it does make sense, but if you figure out how to do it yourself, it's really not that hard. You can probably save like 30% of the cost. And salmon's not cheap. I will tell you that. Salmon is not cheap.
Do you like to go fishing?
Do I like to go fishing? I love going fishing. It is my favorite hobby. And that's one thing I don't love about living in New York. Like when I was in Connecticut, I had great fishing opportunities everywhere. And unfortunately, the city doesn't lend well to that. But I'm sure I'll find some time to get out there. So when you say, can you say the name of the person too, please?
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm just taking out most of these bones. I'm not gonna do like the whole fillet, just in the interest of time, because you guys probably don't want to see all that.
The kids RC, do you hunt?
Do I hunt? I don't hunt, but I really want to. I've never had the opportunity. Like my family didn't really do it growing up, but I've always wanted to go like elk hunt, like one of those crazy stock hunting things where you're like in Colorado stock hunting, like I think I would still like to go deer hunting in one of the setups, but I do like the idea of getting out in the wilderness and maybe with a bow could be cool.
Thank you, Chud's Barbecue, for the donation.
Oh, Chud's Barbecue, what's up, man?
Can we go fishing together, catch and cook, he said.
Hell yeah. Chud's Barbecue, guys, check him out. You might have seen him on social media. He makes some amazing stuff. It's like never-ending bones here. But I think we're pretty much good. I'm only taking the bones off the front section. And I'm also using scissors, which is not advised. But since I just moved, I don't have a lot of like the little equipment that I would normally have, like tweezers. You definitely want to try to use tweezers if you can.
The Hoodie Man asked, do you play any instruments?
The Hoodie Man, yes. Growing up, I played the violin, of all things, and the piano. I started at a very young age.
LJ Monolong asked, have you ever deep fried salmon?
Ooh, have I ever deep fried? I don't think I've ever deep fried salmon, which is surprising because I've deep fried a lot of things. You'd think I would have done it, but I haven't yet. That's a great idea, though. I'm gonna add that to my list. Okay, so I took off most of the bones. Now I'm just gonna cut off a few. So it's just me and my sister eating right now. I'm gonna cut off a couple fillets. This is a nice little piece. If I had my smoker and my grill, I would definitely grill these, but we're working with what we got. Here is a nice piece of salmon. Looks pretty good. That color, it's just so different than what I'm used to. So I'm gonna take a couple fillets.
Graham Dowding asked, how long do you dry age salmon for?
How long do you dry age salmon for? So any type of fish you're gonna typically do less than beef. You can get away with like 60, 90, 100 days with beef, but fish, it's really gonna be limited to probably like the maximum 45 days. I've seen people do it for quite a long time. If you're doing a huge tuna or like something really, really big. But in my experience, anywhere from like 8 to 15 days is the sweet spot for fish. It does just depend on the species and the size. Okay, so we have 3 nice fillets. What I like to do when I can and when I have time is just gently salt them or brine them. It doesn't have to be long, maybe like 30 minutes before cooking, just to let that salt start to penetrate for better texture, just get it seasoned all throughout. So I'm actually going to use, I have this like rosemary infused lemon salt. It's so weird now, I finally saw the Chug's barbecue donation. Yeah, mine's way delayed. But yeah, we have this kind of cool looking herbaceous salt. There's some lemon in there. And the key for me when it comes to salmon is only season the top side with seasonings. You really don't want to add anything like, when I say seasonings, I mean everything other than salt. You really don't want to have like garlic powder on the skin side. You can probably get away with black pepper, but most spices and stuff like that, if you season the skin side, it's just going to immediately stick to the pan. So try to limit any of that stuff to only the top. This smells really good. Probably just mostly use this for the top.
Thank you, Peveril424, for the donation. And this person asked, do you still have the fridge you used to dry age with?
Good question. So thank you. Who is it? Peveril?
Peveril424.
Thank you, Peveril424. I appreciate it. So the question was, do I still have my dry aging fridge? I still have the big one in Connecticut, where I used to live, but fortunately I also had a smaller one. It's half the size, and I have it here. Let me see if I can show you guys real quick. Just keep it. So right there, I don't know if you guys can see, but right there is the dry ager. So yeah, don't you guys worry. We are going to continue the dry aging experiments for sure. Okay, so I seasoned that side with mostly salt, but there's some other stuff there too. This side, I'm only going to season with salt. Some people like to cut holes in the salmon. I actually don't like to do that. Just using some Osmo on the back side. The reason I don't like to do that is I want the skin to fully render and actually protect the salmon. If we cut holes in it, the heat's going to go right up into it, and that barrier is going to be broken, right, by making those slices. You can still do it. It's a fine way to do it. But I'd rather let it sit on the skin side for quite a long time, fully render while also protecting the meat or the flesh from that heat. But yeah, I mean, the seasonings go in a little bit deeper if you were to cut it, but that's just the way I do it.
Waffleman asked, what steak thermometer do you use?
Waffleman, great name. So the question is, what steak thermometer do I use? I use a couple, but the ThermaPen from ThermaPro, is it ThermaWorks or ThermaPro? ThermaWorks.
ThermaWorks.
So this is the ThermaPen from ThermaWorks. It's kind of expensive. It's a little bit more than some of the options you find at the grocery store. It's probably like maybe $70 to $100. If you go to their they have like an email list, and every once in a while they'll give like 25% off. But even though it's more expensive, I would say it's still worth it. It costs a little bit more, but it lasts literally forever. Not literally forever, but it lasts a while. This is my favorite. Okay, so our salmon seasoned. I'm gonna get a plate. I'm still like learning where all my stuff is. So for people just joining, we're cooking some beautiful salmon. And yeah, just catching up because it's been so long since I've done a live stream on YouTube.
Ben Dover asked, do you use the finger method to check the tenderness on steaks? Ben Dover.
Don't love that name. Do I use the finger method? Honestly, I don't. I know people are like, oh, you know, like, you're only a real steak chef if you know when your steak's done. And yeah, people that have more experience and just can press on it, you know, maybe they're great at cooking steaks, but oftentimes I just don't want to have a chance of messing it up. You know, like I'm cooking something really nice, and you know, like you spend a lot of money on something, you want to make sure it comes out not only good, but like as great as you possibly can get it. So I use a meat thermometer. You know, I have no problem with that. Okay, so the steak is, the fish is dry brining, just for a little bit. Time to cut up this thing. And I mean, look at the bottom of it. Like, what is that? It just doesn't look like something that humans should eat. But apparently it's a celery root. So the celery that we all know and love, well, I don't know if we love it, but celery that we all know of goes like this, and I assume this is just in the ground as the root, and apparently there's this like big bulb of something. And I've seen a few recipes online, people like saute it. It looked crazy, so I wanted to just try it out, which is exactly what we're gonna do here. Do I make my own salts? I do not make my own salts. I know some people that do though. Okay, so I feel like, honestly, how do you even approach this thing? I think I'm just gonna start by chopping off the top. It's weird, like, I would expect it to like smell like a turnip, but it just smells like celery, which shouldn't shock me because this is literally a celery root. But yeah, it's just like white. It looks like a potato or a turnip. I'm very interested to see the texture. It feels almost like foam in a weird way. I guess I'll just chop off some of the edges.
Ty Williams asked, would you ever actually dry age Impossible meat?
So Ty Williams, would I ever actually dry age Impossible meat? Not only would I, but I currently am. So some of you guys might have seen that video where I like, you know, it's kind of a joke, where I dry age the Impossible meat. I still put the Impossible meat in the dry ager, and it's currently dry aging as we speak, and it does not look good. I'll give you guys a status update next time I'm at that house, but it definitely is not looking appetizing, which probably shouldn't come as a shock to you guys. Okay, so I don't even know what I'm doing here with this, but I'm just like getting all this crap away. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm just doing my best. Okay, so like this is what it looks like now. It's, again, just like smells like celery, but doesn't look like celery, which is kind of tripping me out a little bit. Just gonna throw this stuff away.
LJ Maniling asked, is there a specific food you're scared to try to eat / cook?
Besides Impossible meat. A food that I'm scared to try. Honestly, Indian food does intimidate me. Not that I love Indian food, but actually cooking it is something that I am intimidated by, just because there's so much spice. There's so many like unique flavor profiles that I'm just not accustomed to. Also, like internal organs, I don't always love them. I don't hate them, but like intestines and like different things like that can get a little iffy to me. But yeah, I'm sure I'll find more in the future.
Thank you, Aiden Woishness, for the donation. And this person asked, what is an affordable way to dry age meat?
Aiden asked that?
Yep.
Thank you, Aiden. That's a very good question. So the question is, what's an affordable way to dry age meat? Obviously, buying a big unit is expensive, it's time consuming, it requires space. A great way to do it is to use the Umai dry bags, UMAI bag. It's similar to like a vacuum sealed bag. You can put it right in your fridge and it dry ages essentially the exact same way. You can also, if you want to get a little more into it, you can buy like a small college mini fridge. almost all the dry aging experience I have is with my college mini fridge. I would do I do literally everything in there. You want to get like, I would do a little research online, but you want to get some salt, you want to get a little fan, but a great starting point is the Umai dry bags. They're not super cheap. It might be like, probably for $30 you can get a few nice dry aging cycles out of the bags, but definitely check those out.
Thank you, Voice Over the Enemy, for the donation.
Thank you, Voice of the Enemy. It's a cool name. Okay, guys, we have our crazy, this is one of the craziest vegetable, like, look at it almost looks like the moon. There's like craters in there. It's foamy. It smells like celery. I'm just gonna, see. Oh man, it's quite dense. Wow, very dense in there. Again, smells like celery, surprisingly.
Someone with the handle Max the Meat Boy said, "Hello, future me."
Max the Meat Boy. Yo, love the name. That is great. Do you also like meat like me? And is your name Max? That's hilarious.
Alex Preston, thank you for the donation. And this person asked, "What cutting board is that? Big fan of your vids."
Alex Preston, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the donation. So this is a booze block. You guys can see the branding here. It's, I think, the 13-inch and like 3 to 4 inches tall. It's obviously great for videos because it like elevates things, but it's also just a great cutting board in general. Also, this table is from Booze Block. They're not the cheapest cutting boards, but if you treat them right, they'll last forever. That's been my experience. Not that I treat them that right. Like there's some humidity issues going on, but if you do, like they give you really good oils and waxes to keep everything looking great. But yeah, Booze Block, good company. Max, you dry age a whole hog. It's the second time I saw that. Sorry I didn't get to you the first time. I really want to dry age a whole hog. That would be sick. I've dry aged pork belly. I've dry aged a couple things with pork, but definitely not a whole hog. So that's 100% on my list. Okay, so I'm just chopping this. The plan is to kind of saute these. Saute. I saw one recipe online. It kind of reminds me of like eggplant, the inside, but it's a lot harder. So who knows, man? Are they gonna taste good? That's the real question, and I don't know why. My hopes are not too high with this, but at least we have the salmon.
Thank you, Aiden, for the donation. And Aiden said, "What's the best amount of time to dry age the meat?" I'm sure it's different for each type.
Yeah, great question, Aiden. Yeah, and thank you. So the question is, what's the best amount of time to dry age something? I actually did a video where I compared using the exact same roast, anywhere from 2 weeks to like 8 weeks. I think my favorite fell around 5 through like 7 weeks. It's quite similar, but yeah, the type of meat will play a role. I would say if you want to get into dry or tasting dry aged meat, try to get anything over 30 days. That's sort of the sweet spot where like you can really start to tell that it was not fresh, that it was dry aged. Sometimes you'll find dry aged meat at the store. It's like way more expensive, but it's only been dry aged for like 2 weeks. I'd probably avoid that. But if you do go to a steakhouse and find a dry aged steak, if it's between like 30 and 60 days, then it's probably worth trying. But yeah, a lot of people say the sweet spot is right around 45 days, which is definitely one of the better ones. Okay, so this is all done. Chop this up. Oh man, I need to, 1 second. Okay, so I don't have my normal cooktop.
It's right here, for you.
Oh, I do have my normal cooktop.
It's plugged in.
Okay, great. Oh, who's Have you dry aged your camera woman? That's a good question. I haven't yet. Oh, that's a good idea. She happens to be my sister. What do you guys think? Should I dry age my sister? I know Guga always talks about dry aging his nephew, Angel. Okay.
Pushplar asked, "Do you ever eat insects?"
I don't. I typically don't eat insects, but I have before.
Matthew May asked, how would you recommend that someone get better at cooking?
How would I recommend somebody get better at cooking? Honestly, YouTube is like the best way to learn about really anything. Obviously, you go to school, they teach you stuff. But if you're interested in cooking, I just get familiar with, people that make content that you're interested in learning about.
Thank you, Saucy Ace, for the donation. And Saucy Ace said, I missed when you said it, but what is the thing that you're cutting? It looks like Meridia's beacon.
Saucy 8, thank you for that. Also, so the question is, what was I cutting? This is a celery root. So it was super crazy looking when it was whole. This is like the top of it. This is what it looks like now. It's literally the root of a celery. And it smells like celery. It's almost like a foamy texture. So let me try some of it raw. It's got to be okay to do right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not terrible. Very different texture than celery normally.
Could you pickle it?
What does it remind me of?
A radish?
No, not quite. It's almost like eggplant that's raw, but a little more dense. I don't hate it, actually. It's kind of an interesting texture, but it tastes like celery. It's so weird. Like, mentally, I'm like, I only associate the flavor of celery with those stalks, with like actual celery. So it's just weird to taste, celery's root form. But here we are, we're doing it. Okay. Should I start by cooking the celery? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Just get it over with?
Yeah. Aiden, thank you so much for the donation. And Aiden asked, are you thinking about releasing a product line like pots or knives? And what is your go-to meal to cook on a date?
Thank you, Aiden. Again, I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. So the first question was, am I releasing anything? I can't say what it is, but we do have something very, very exciting coming up. I want to say it without saying it. It's, I'll leave it at, we have something very exciting. It's very relevant to what I do. It's not like a spice. It's not like cooking equipment. It's something that I hope you're all going to enjoy at some point. I'm very excited about it.
And the second question...
I feel bad that I can't actually say it. But yes, the answer is yes, I am.
The second question was...
I got it. So my favorite thing to cook on a date? It's a good question. I'd say first and foremost, figure out what your date likes to eat. That's the big one. I think that filet mignon is a good crowd pleaser, assuming him or her likes steak. It's premium. Like, nobody hates filet mignon. Maybe it's not their favorite. Or like salmon, honestly. Salmon's a good one. Maybe a salad. Just keeping it relatively light. Maybe some mashed potatoes or something. Okay, so I'm just like sauteing these. Can you guys see? Celery root, first time ever. I do have some garlic and rosemary that we're gonna add. And I've seen people add a little bit of like water to just kind of cook it through. Probably just using it with some salt to start. First time doing this, so we'll see. Do we have another pan, Sophia? There
might be one more. Thank you, Aiden, for the donation. He said, I know you're not Max the veggie guy, but I've got some fresh bok choy. Any simple recipe suggestions?
Aiden, thank you again. Fresh bok choy. I'm trying to think. Blanching it or steaming it is a nice way to do it. Honestly, grilled bok choy is pretty good. I like to add like some Asian flavor, so maybe soy sauce. It does absorb a lot of liquid. Like, you don't want to pour too much soy sauce, especially if you cut it in half. But, some sesame oil, a little bit of soy sauce, maybe some vinegar. Throw on the grill. It's good. But you're right, I am not Max the veggie guy.
Big pan, little pan, cast iron.
Anything that can fit some 2 pieces of salmon. Yeah. Okay, so while this is cooking, I'm going to preheat my cast iron for the salmon. We're going to try to do them both at the same time. And yeah, just cooking some celery root, you know? That's how we do it. Unfortunately, we're not cooking with applewood today, which I'm very sad about. I'm gonna have my grill soon though, so we'll get that in order.
Edrit asked, which recipe took you the longest to cook ever?
What recipe took the longest to cook? So last year I used to make I feel like I used to make these crazy things. Like I would do a football field, for example, where like we made the whole, like the goalposts and like the turf and like the end zones and like a huge football. So those sorts of projects take the longest. I wouldn't really call those a recipe. It's more of like a art project or something. But I did make that steak monster recently, where I put the jalapenos in the big roast. That took a while.
Voice Over the Enemy asked, what is your go-to midnight snack?
My go-to midnight snack. Ooh. Alright, I'll show you guys it. I actually have it around. So lately I've been eating, this is like obviously I'm not trying to promote these guys. I really like savory foods, but I shouldn't be eating Cheetos all the time. So I like to eat these things. It's like a high protein Cheeto type deal, and I crush them, honestly. I can eat a lot of these. I feel like they're healthier. Who knows what they actually are? Yeah. Leftovers is probably my favorite. If I like went out to dinner and I have some food available from that dinner, it's usually what I'll go for. These just like, they're kind of searing. They're quite thick, so I think they're going to need to take some time. I do want to focus more on the salmon, because that's what we're here for, so I am getting the pan preheated.
Raven asked, do you ever bake? If so, what?
Do I ever bake? I actually really, it's not that I hate baking, it's that I'm just not very good at it, and that's mostly because I don't give it the time of day. Like, I think there's something very different about assembling a dish. Like right now, I'm watching it, I'm moving it, I'm seasoning it as I go, I'm tasting it. It's just like this whole experience that you're immersed in, whereas baking, nothing against baking, but you have to be very scientific with the measurements, you mix it all together, and then you throw it in the oven and you just set it and forget it. I like the more hands-on approach to like traditional cooking. So for that reason, I really don't bake. Like I can't think of the last thing I baked. I do love eating baked goods though, I can't lie. A good cookie or muffin, oh yeah. Okay, so these are going. Anything else to do?
Max, I don't know why Gordon Ramsay is really angry with you.
That is true. I feel like it's unwarranted too. Like Gordon Ramsay hasn't even tasted my food, but he seems to hate me. What do you guys think? Is it warranted? Like, I can't lie. A lot of the stuff I make is questionable. But, you know, it's usually very good. At least I think. Let's add some water. Just like let it steam. It's so thick. But it's starting to get some decent color. You know?
Yuke asked, what's your favorite knife?
My favorite knife. Oh, here. Right here. This is my favorite knife. It's hand forged, which is really cool. Damascus steel. But I have a few knives that I really like. That's one of my favorites. So our cast iron's pretty much good to go. On this, I'm just going to add some garlic. and some rosemary, and a pretty solid amount more olive oil because it's quite dry right now. Could use butter. Taste it.
Someone said maybe saute the celery root in white wine.
Great idea. Do you have any?
I don't think so.
Unfortunately, I don't have any white wine or like vinegar or anything like that. It's pretty good though. It's still raw in the middle, so I think adding a little more moisture to let it like steam. But adding the garlic and the rosemary was definitely a good touch. Add a little more salt.
Thank you, Aiden, for the donation. Aiden then asked, why is a cast iron pan preferable? And then said, Huga mentioned an A5 Wagyu for $30 versus the $600. Have you tried it or recommend? How is
the
it?
First,
So
thank
cheap?
you, Aiden. I appreciate it again, once again. So cast iron. So great timing on that question. So the question is, why is cast iron preferable? And I will say it's not always preferable, but the main benefit to it. Let me try this down. The main benefit is that it's so thick, right? It's super heavy, right? Everybody knows that, and that's because the bottom is extremely thick. And what that means is that once it comes up to temperature, it holds that heat extremely well, right? So if we're searing a steak, we want it to stay hot as hot as possible, so that we can get a really nice sear. It's a really thin pan, and you add a steak. The steak's actually going to cool down the pan very quickly. It's too hot. And a cast iron, because it holds heat so well, it'll maintain that high heat. That's the main thing. It's a little bit more work cleaning it, storing it because it's so heavy. There are some downsides, but overall, if you're searing something like a steak, cast iron's gonna be your best bet. In this case with salmon, like now we're running into one of the downsides, which is I overheated it. I don't want to burn this salmon, so I'm kind of like taking it off the heat for a little bit to let it cool down slightly. So there's pros and cons to everything. But yeah.
Thank you, Voice Over the Enemy, for the donation. And Voice Over the Enemy asked, have you ever made any Egyptian food?
Ooh, interesting. Honestly, no, and I don't really know what Egyptian food is. So if you do have some recommendations, please let me know. Egyptian food. I've had certain Middle Eastern food I love, but specifically Egyptian, I don't think I've had. Okay.
Thank you, Carnivore Canoe, for the donation. And Carnivore Canoe said thanks for the return email.
Oh, Carnival Canoe. Guys, have you started your channel?
Carnivore Canoe.
Yeah, Carnivore Canoe. Guys, check out Carnivore Canoe. Brand new channel, and he's cooking on a canoe, which is amazing. So definitely check him out. Can we get him to 10 subscribers? I don't know if he had where he's at, but I'm definitely gonna be watching his stuff. I'm excited. So our pan is smoking, which means it's too hot, as I mentioned. We don't want our olive oil really smoking, but honestly, we're just gonna go for it because we're here.
Thank you, Yosh, for the donation. And Yosh said, I love your videos. I want to try to dry age for myself, but I don't have a dry ager. Can I dry age without one?
Yash, good question. Check out Umai Dry Bags. UMAI bags. Those are a good product that allows you to dry age at home. So, as you're seeing, we're moving on to the salmon. And when it comes to salmon, what I really like to do is put it in, then press down. The skin likes to just seize up and separate from the flesh. By pressing down, especially in the first 15 seconds, we sort of prevent that from happening.
Thank you, Sir Researcher. And Sir Researcher asked, what food do you most commonly cook/eat?
Sure, Reacher. I really mix it up, but at the end of the day, the most common combination is some sort of protein, not always steak, you know, it could be salmon, it could be chicken, it could be pork, and then a vegetable. So you're looking at a pretty standard meal for me, even though I've never tried celery root, so for people just joining, this is what celery root looks like. First time I've ever cooked it, ever seen it. And that's sort of my combination, you know, like a good protein and vegetables. Sometimes I'll mix in rice, sometimes, like I don't usually eat noodles. I do love noodles, but yeah, I try to mix it up. So what we've done here is we added the salmon. Again, I pressed it down. The heat might be a little too hot, but what I like to do is cook it almost all the way on the skin side. This skin, it acts as not only does it keep the fish itself the right temperature, it protects it from the cold, but when you're cooking it, it protects it from the heat, right? Think of this as like a little protective barrier, so the flesh below it is, you know, not going up in temperature too fast. It's similar to like a duck breast that has that really thick fat cap or fat layer. So what I like to do is let it sit on this side for as long as I can, let it get really crispy. I hope it's not burning. It might be. And then at the last second, flip it.
Supernova asked, do you enjoy / have you ever tried rabbit?
Ooh, rabbit. I do enjoy it. I haven't cooked too much of it, but that's a great idea. I should do that. Maybe like a dry aged rabbit. Ooh, that could be a cool video. Yeah, thank you. That's a great call.
Thank you, Sicario, for the donation. And Sicario said, love your content, bro. Please upload more frequently.
Thank you, Sicario. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, my current excuse is that I've been moving. So for people just joining, brand new kitchen. I moved to New York City. So haven't been posting quite as much as I would like to, but we're gonna get back into it. And yeah, I'm starting to post a lot more long form videos. So now either Saturday or Sunday, I'll be posting like a 6 to 10 minute video. So I hope you guys like those. Let me know if you have any feedback on them as well. But you know, I started with the short form content, and it's definitely where I'm most comfortable, but I am trying to explore the longer stuff as well.
Thank you, Rabandus, for the donation.
Thank you, Rabandus. Rabandus?
Rabandus.
Thank you, Rabandus. Okay, so we do have a meat thermometer here. When it comes to salmon, I usually pull it anywhere from like 105 to 120. It really depends on how fatty it is. In this case, this salmon is actually really lean compared to like a farmed Atlantic salmon. So something like that you can get away with a little bit of a higher temperature. But in this case, I want to keep it a little bit lower. So let's just see where we are right now. We're already at like about 98. So I'm gonna flip this and then quick sear on this side and we're gonna be done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aiden, for the donation. And Aiden said, you can only use one heating method, charcoal, electric, gas, etc., and one cooking tool to cook your meat. What's your choice?
Thank you, Aiden, again. So the question is, if I had to choose one cooking method.
One heating element and one cooking tool to cook meat.
One heating element, definitely charcoal or an open fire. And then one tool. Ooh.
Like a grill, a cast iron, a griddle.
Probably just a grill grate, honestly. You know? Keep it simple. So we flipped it. I think we're pretty much good, guys. That's all it takes. Check out, I'm going to put this down and show you guys what we got. It's probably still quite rare on one side, which I'm not mad about. Definitely works for me. But look at what we by using this method, cooking it almost 100% on the skin side, you can see we have a really, really nice crust. The fish itself, it's not leaking too much of that white stuff. You can see it's still quite rare there, which I'm good with. But the key is, again, we don't season this side. If we added garlic powder to this side, there's no chance we could flip it. It would completely stick to the pan. All we do is add salt. We put it in, press down, which maintained the contact with the pan. And then we left it there until it was almost completely done cooking. Right, so yeah, it's just a really nice crispy crust, which is exactly what we're looking for.
Thank you, Sportsman, for the donation. And Sportsman asked, what is your favorite food and why?
Thank you, Sportsman. My favorite food, I don't know why I always go back to barbecue ribs. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good steak. But for some reason, barbecue ribs is just where my heart lies. Good ribs, they're hard to beat. Okay. So let's plate up the salmon. I think our celery root is pretty good. Let me get a plate. Okay. Let me taste the celery root. I actually like it. It has a similar texture as like a turnip. I wish I added some butter on there instead of just olive oil for more of like a rich mouthfeel, but it's pretty good.
Thank you so much, Dragon28. And Dragon28 asked, what seasonings are best for blackened rub on fish?
Thank you. Wait, who is this?
This is Dragon28.
Dragon28, thank you. For blackened fish, honestly, they typically sell some good blackened fish rubs. I don't have a great recipe. I wish I had one for you. I know like anything like garlic, anything that will darken should be good. So like garlic powder, onion powder. Most seasonings will achieve that like dark color profile, but I don't specifically have any ideas. If anybody has good rub ingredients for blackened fish, definitely help out our man down there.
And thank you, Voice Over the Enemy, for the donation. And Voice Over the Enemy said, could you make malakia? It's like a green stew.
Voice of the Enemy, thank you again. Malakia, I'll have to check that out. I've never tried it. I don't even know what cuisine that is, but it sounds really good.
It's from Egypt. And
oh, from Egypt. Okay. Are you from Egypt? Okay, so let's finish this up here. We have
Voice Over the Enemy responded, yes, Egyptian.
Nice.
His dad, or her dad.
Sounds delicious. Guys, I'm so excited about the salmon. It's still very rare, which I'm very happy about. But again, just check out the... You guys hear that? Really nice crust to it. There's one. I'm sharing this with my sister.
It looks so good.
It does look good. Let's see. We got some lemon. Anytime I'm serving fish, lemon is just like a necessity, in my opinion. Especially salmon. It just freshens it all up. It's just not the right knife for that. A little bit of that. A little bit more of that. Okay. I did add some microgreens, some spicy microgreens. Lately I've been loving them. I don't know why. I feel like it goes well with a lot of stuff. And then, really quick, just a little bit of parsley over the top. Not much. Just a bit. And there we go. What do you guys think? Again, this is what type of salmon was it?
Sockeye.
Sockeye. Sockeye salmon. This is a raw one. You see that crazy color? This is it cooked. Get that nice crust, some lemon on there, and we have our celery root. A little sauce would be nice with this. I don't really have anything, but I'm pretty happy with this. I feel like this will work.
Thank you so much, Kintz, for the donation. And Kintz said, "Hi, I love watching your videos."
Kintz, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay. Guys, just look at this salmon. Oh, baby.
Someone said ketchup as your
Ketchup.
sauce.
Now we're thinking. Oh, man. That is so good. So this is the inside. It still has that color. Nice and rare, just the way I would want it. You know, typically when you go to the store and you order, or when you go to a restaurant and you order salmon, there's that white stuff coming out the side. It's chalky, it's really dry. Cooking it at home allows you to cook it to your preferred temperature. And the skin often comes out way better when you do it yourself. I'm gonna try it.
Max the Meat Boy said, "That looks perfect, Dad."
Max the Meat Boy. It's very good. So different than Atlantic salmon, the stuff you find in the stores, like completely different. Way stronger flavor. I find that Atlantic salmon, it's a little bit more muted. It just tastes like flesh, kind of. It's not. It just tastes like the texture. It's not like, wow, I'm eating salmon. Look at this stuff, guys. It's like, I was talking about how the fat content didn't look very high, but it's still so juicy. Probably has a lot to do with the temperature I cooked it to. So good. Our celery root, still nice and raw in the middle, a little bit, but still good. Probably could have cooked that a little longer. Not bad though. I would cook this again. Similar to a turnip, texture-wise and also flavor-wise. They're almost like, it tastes more like a turnip than a piece of celery, which is weird, but it's not bad. But this salmon is so good. Like, it's just amazing. Want to try some, Sophia?
Sure. Natalie R asked, "Can you do a video about the perfect way to cook a steak?"
Natalie R, great question. I will. It's interesting though because there's so many different ways to cook the perfect steak depending on the thickness, depending on the cut, depending on all sorts of stuff. But over time, I hope to hit all the bases.
Wow,
What do you think?
that is so good. You get a little bit of the crispy skin.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? Maybe a little more salt on top.
This is so good.
There's also this is my sister Sophia. Welcome. She helps me with the filming. She has her own channels too, Sophia Greb. You can find her all across social media.
That is so good.
Right?
And the celery stuff is good too.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So for this, the white wine would have been a nice touch. Basically just seared it to get some color, cooked it down, salt,
That's so good.
fresh garlic, rosemary. Oh, I think some lemon would be good on there too. Some acidity. But I do recommend that vegetable. Looks crazy, but if you want to try something new when it comes to vegetables, it's not bad. When it's raw, it looks really weird, and it can be, I don't know. It was strange at first, but after cooking it, I'm pretty happy with it.
That's awesome.
Sister
Good job.
approved.
Crushed it.
So anything else? My opinion on sushi, big fan. Huge fan of sushi. Okay. Any last minute questions?
Gavin asked, what other wood flavors do you recommend other than apple wood?
We're just gonna skip that question. Only apple wood. Now, there's a lot of good ones. Hickory, you know, standard. Oak, standard. Mesquite, if you're cooking a steak, is good. Because when you're smoking a steak, you don't have a lot of time for the smoke flavor to absorb. So you want something really strong. So mesquite is quite strong. So even if you're only smoking the steak for like 30 minutes, you can still get some of that flavor. But when in doubt, just go with apple wood. Anything else with you?
Someone said, does everyone in the household wear black clothing?
Pretty much. Yeah. Somehow me and Sophia just wear black all the time now. Okay, cool. Well, I realize you guys are just watching me eat and I'm starving right now. It's kind of like my first meal of the day, actually. But thank you guys for watching. Yeah, it's good to be back. I haven't done one of these in a long time. And I appreciate you guys all sticking around, asking questions, and, you know, watching my stuff, commenting. Yeah, I appreciate it. If you do have any more specific questions, you can DM me on Instagram. I'm a little bit backed up right now, but typically I'll get back to you at some point. And yeah, appreciate it, guys. I will see you all soon. Let's see if there's any last minute things. Thank you, Sigma. You need to eat more. I know I'm starving. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. I will talk to you all later. Peace.